Hi everyone, I'm Sue, a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. Write it down, call it into my sponsor. I don't eat in between no matter what. For today, abstinence is the most important thing in my life without exception. I'm abstinent by the grace of God and the fellowship of this program. My abstinence date is May 18th, 2006. And I go to meetings and I do service to build my defense against the first bite. I have very much dry mouth. I work at a Medicare insurance company, and this is the last 3 days of open enrollment. I was on the phones for most of the afternoon, so my mouth is a little dry, so bear with me. I do want to try and share my screen because I think pictures are worth 1,000 words, and I have, when I do in person at my home group and in-person meetings, I have a little photo book, but I'm going to attempt to try and share my photos. I have several. Okay, if I can, everybody see my screen kind of thing. This is me in August of 2001 at Yankee Stadium, probably about 260 plus pounds. I don't even know because I stopped getting on the scale at this point. With my little girl who will be 27 in April, and my dad, who passed away in 2019. I remember this day vividly because my whole body was stuffed into those narrow metal seats. And I remember the armchairs digging into my hips, and just feeling lousy and crappy. And I'm going to try and see if I can share. And then one other picture that I found is this one, which is very telling. This was me earlier. Let's see, that's my oldest there. So she was this was probably 1997, a side view. We were on vacation at a farm, taking my daughter around, and that was my side profile. Those shorts were a size 24, they were tight, and just I was miserable in my own skin. A skinny girl in a fat body, screaming to get out. And I think, oh, and here's me on the beach with that little baby, my oldest, and me on the beach. So when I tell you, when I got here in 2003, I was utterly defeated by the food. I don't know if you caught any glimpse of those pictures. I have 2 other kids, twins, who were born in 1993, April. And my oldest was 7 at the time. And I'd come in, really resigned myself to be a happy fat person. Up until that point, at that time I was 36 years old. Up until that point, food was a moral issue for me. It fed my low self-esteem, my low self-worth. I really, truly thought that there was something morally wrong with me, that I could not have one of something. Pretty normal kid growing up, 5, 6, 7, normal looking young child. The weight, started in that awkward pre-pubescent phase. And I struggled, 10, 11, 12, 13. Really just that awkward, ballooning phase, so to speak. There's a starch I want to use, but I'm not going to say it. And then struggling, in my teens, and looking back at my pictures at that point, and when I showed my kids, they're like, "Mom, you're not fat," but it was all up here. Incessantly teased as a young kid, in elementary school, middle school. Girls that were taller, thinner than me. I grew up in the 70s. It was the Jordache jeans that were painted on. We didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't have a lot of, the stylish clothes back then. And, I struggled, with my self-esteem, my self-worth, what people thought about me. I had friends in high school. I swam a little bit. I did track a little bit, but it was always struggling and figuring out the food. My mom had struggled with her weight, throughout my whole life. I can remember, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, sitting Friday nights, on the couch playing video games, and she'd have literally, you can't see because I have my little video thing on, but she would sit on the couch and have bags, would carry, sweet things in her uh, jacket pockets, in her pocketbook. I can remember digging in her pocketbook amongst the tobacco for coins to go walk around to the corner store to either play video games or buy sweet things, or both. I clearly remember stealing $50 from my father's drawer to go around the corner for all that sweet stuff. And like I said, I was struggling, up until, high school, and I was probably on 800 calories a day in high school, struggling to maintain a size 9. But it was all the mental gymnastics in my head, praying to God for the willpower to lose weight, because that's what I thought it was. I lacked willpower, because I could not have one of something. And, and I was just talking to a coworker today about this, like, there's no solution for me today in the foods we avoid. And I didn't have any 12-step experience when I came in 2003, but I was just so tired of being sick and tired. I did not know what to do anymore. I remember at, 16 going to my first Weight Watcher meeting, trying all the stuff that my mom had done, those little brown AYDS things, Richard Simmons deal meal, the Slim Fast stuff in the can. But it was always Weight Watchers. I would always turn to Weight Watchers, and it never worked. I had every cookbook under the sun, trying to meal plan, trying to, buy the healthy stuff that ultimately turned to smush in the fridge because it went bad. But I thought I knew it all. You had to have carbs and all that. So I graduated high school, met the kid that I was going to marry a couple years later, got married at 170 pounds, which was really heavy for me because I was probably maybe 130 or 40 in high school at 5 foot tall. But all bets were off. I got the guy. That was what I was supposed to do. Got married and found a new eating buddy. Only child, so my parents were my eating buddy, so I just transferred everything over. And anything and everything we did revolved around food. Came from an Italian Portuguese family, had an Italian grandmother. I could not step foot out of her house unless I had at least 2 and 3 helpings of something, sweet or not. And it all revolved around the food. And I am just so grateful that this is where I start crying, because like I said, it was about willpower for me, but it was also the food committee in my head. At any suggestion of a TV commercial, looking at something in the, like, standing in front of, opening the refrigerator, standing in front of the refrigerator, searching for that one bite that would do it, that would quiet the food committee in my head, and I could eat like a normal person, praying every night to God, make me wake up 20 pounds lighter, planning a diet. This time of year, I am so grateful. I am not, the next silly season is New Year's resolution. I'm not doing that today. Trying to plan another diet, picking up a magazine, lose 20 pounds by summer. And, nothing truly ever worked. And, it was, after I had my daughter, it was from the moment my feet hit the floor in the morning, getting her ready, getting myself ready to go to work, for her to daycare. My mom had her for the first 2.5 years of her life. And, I remember dreading just this thought, like, I'm not going to be able to show my daughter how to, carry myself as a lady. Like, I could not show her how to cross her legs. And, she's, 18 months, a year old, 2 years at that time. And, I just remember being so uncomfortable, constantly shopping for clothes, constantly every change of season, buying new clothes because, in the, going to Lane Bryant, going to the larger women's size in Filene's, and feeling mortified because I'd have to replace clothes and shirts because I'd have stains on my shirts. I'd wear out the seams in my pants.
Then
Okay, thank you. And you know, just really feeling bad about myself. So, tried to get pregnant again. I couldn't. I found out I was insulin resistant. I was 220 when I got pregnant. I probably gained 50 pounds with my oldest. She was 10 pounds. She was the quickest 10 pounds I ever lost. Tried to get pregnant again. My mom had passed away by that point. That was not enough to get me to stop getting out of the food. She passed away at 54, complications from diabetes. And I was telling my son this yesterday, like, I feel such a privilege to be 55 because she never made it to 55. And I can't imagine being dead at this age. There's so much life left to live. So, couldn't get pregnant and wound up, I had insulin resistance, had gone to an endocrinologist, put me on a diet, and I truly believe that the path that my life took got me to Gray Sheet. I had married into a family that had a Gray Sheeter who saw me struggle, who had suggested that she would meet me at a meeting that was starting 10 minutes from my house. This was July of 2003. My twins were born in April. I had done fertility, and the path that I took, I was gestational diabetic with both pregnancies. With the second pregnancy, my doctor had me look at every label, read every label, gave me um, things to write down, 3 meals, 2 snacks, fax it into him. I had to, I could have anything I want, but I had to do it within that serving size of whatever that was. So I went to my first Gray Sheet meeting probably in August of 2003 in Bethel. And it was the first time I had heard people do and say the same things I did about food, but there was nothing wrong with me. This ego was strong. I didn't understand this concept of compulsive overeating, let alone a grateful compulsive overeater. Had no 12-step experience coming in. It was all just alien and foreign to me, but there was something. So, and only child syndrome, have to do it myself. I know better. I know it all. But Sue's way got Sue up to 260 some odd pounds. But again, ego going through the door was huge. So I grabbed a Gray Sheet, shopped it to all my doctors thinking you had to have carbs. They're like, no, it's fine. Got myself a scale, played around with it. And then I wound up getting a sponsor and then promptly lied and played with it for 2.5 years. And it was a huge monkey on my back. I would manipulate, playing with the Gray Sheet. And then that day, almost 16.5 years ago, yet again, pulling into a fast food place. I remember the meal, driving across the street to the back parking lot of another shopping center. It was a beautiful May day, beautiful blue sky, and sitting in that back parking lot eating like an animal, and the food was not even good. And again, driving out with the windows of the car all the way down, throwing the bag out the window, and to get the smell of the fast food out of my car. And something said to me, and I attribute this to my higher power, either you can continue to do Gray Sheet, and I did have some success screwing around with it, which I do not recommend.
1 minute.
Thank you. I'll wrap up. I can either get honest and do Gray Sheet or continue to eat this way and put your weight back on. So the choice was I got Abstinent. And boy, what a ride. A minute is not enough to tell you all about the no matter what's I experienced in the last 4 years, starting in 2018, but I remained abstinent. It was planning, preparing, and protecting my abstinence. Abstinence is the foundation of my life today. It gave me the courage to leave a marriage that was no longer working for me. I did not like the person I was. And for me, Gray Sheet's all about the person that I was meant to be, that skinny girl finally getting out of the fat body and having peace and serenity around my food. I go to meetings to hear the message of why I ate. I plan, prepare, and protect my abstinence tomorrow and Wednesday. I'm bringing full 3 meals to work because I have to work until probably 10 o'clock at night for the next 2 nights. Um,
It's
I do
time.
service. I'll wrap up. I do service. I've done AWOLs. I work the steps, the prayer and meditation. It's just infinitely, my life today is infinitely better because I was well on my way to have the same faith that that my mother had. Um, and I'm just beyond grateful for this fellowship who has pulled me through and for the peace and serenity that I get today around the food. So thanks for listening. I'll put all my info in the chat and thanks for letting me share no matter what.